The 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup will see the best footballers on the planet do battle. It's the first time we'll see Pernille Harder grace the game's biggest stage, while Japan will look to repeat their heroics from 2011. Immerse yourself in the biggest sporting event of the year with the Contenders. One of the most successful Asian nations in the female game, Japan has qualified for every edition of the Women's World Cup. Japan achieved the ultimate in 2011, becoming the first Asian team, male or female, to win a World Cup, upsetting tournament favorites the United States in the final. It snapped a 26-game winless run against the Americans, coming from behind twice to send the game into extra time before a dramatic penalty shootout decided the match. Winning the World Cup was a landmark moment for Japanese football, at a time when the country was recovering from an earthquake and tsunami disaster that killed nearly 20,000 people prior to the tournament.
はい、今日このピッチに来る前もですね。
Before we went into this match, we watched the television to see the situation in Japan. We wanted to use this important opportunity to thank the people back home for all the support they have been giving us.
Since they were crowned world champions for the first time, Japan have been consistently ranked amongst the top teams in women's football. They backed up their 2011 heroics with a runner-up finish at the following World Cup in 2015. However, 2019 wasn't quite as successful, bowing out at the round of 16 to eventual finalists, the Netherlands. Under head coach Futoshi Ikeda, Japan secured their place at the 2023 finals by making the Final Four at the 2022 Asian Cup. But their tournament ended in disappointment, eliminated at the semi-final stage after going down to China on penalties. The side contains two survivors from the 2011 World Cup winning squad. Captain Saki Kumagai is Japan's most important player, while striker Mana Iwabuchi is their biggest threat in attack. With well over 100 caps next to her name, Kumagai is an irreplaceable cog in Japan's defense. Iwabuchi, meanwhile, is aiming to score at a third straight World Cup, having found the back of the net in 2015 and 2019. Japan will face Spain, Costa Rica, and Zambia for a spot in the knockout phase. Their clash against Spain on July 31 in Wellington will likely decide the winner of Group C, barring any major upsets. Up next, Pernille Harder will look to inspire Denmark at her maiden World Cup appearance. After several near misses, Denmark captain Pernille Harder will finally play at her first Women's World Cup in 2023. Harder made her international debut in 2009 at age 16, but the Danes have failed to qualify for the last 3 World Cups. Not being able to compete on the game's biggest stage has frustrated the Danish attacker. But she now has the chance to shine in front of the watching world at the 2023 finals in Australia and New Zealand. Harder has been prolific over a long period for Denmark, averaging a goal every 2 matches, making her the nation's all-time leading scorer. Since scoring a hat-trick on her senior debut, Harder has been a permanent fixture in the national team, clocking up well over 100 appearances for her country. One of the best players in the women's game, Harder has been named Danish Footballer of the Year a record 7 times.
I've been so lucky to have played alongside my Danish colleague, Pernille Harder. And I think that she's definitely one of the contestants to the greatest football in the world.
She has also starred at club level, elevating her game to world-class status at German club Wolfsburg. Harder won 4 consecutive German league and cup doubles, plus 2 golden boots during her trophy-laden stint in the Bundesliga, scoring 103 times in 113 matches. Harder then joined Chelsea for in excess of £250,000 in September 2020, a world record transfer fee for a female footballer at the time. More success followed in West London, helping the Blues lift 2 Women's Super League titles, 2 FA Cups and a League Cup. Harder's CV is stacked with individual honours. She is the only 2-time winner of the UEFA Women's Player of the Year award.
Yeah, I'm super honored to achieve this award. It's one of the biggest awards you can achieve individually in football. So I am super happy and very, very proud.
While Harder has won multiple titles in England and Germany, guiding her country to a first international trophy would cement her legacy as a Danish legend. She scored Denmark's only goal at Euro 2022 as the Red and Whites bowed out at the group stage, extending their major tournament drought in disappointing fashion. But with Harder eager to impress at her first World Cup, the Danes will be up for the fight when they travel down under in 2023. Female athletes have fought for decades to be recognized for their labor. Professionalization, prize money, and salaries have all lagged behind their male counterparts. It has taken pioneers like tennis legend Billie Jean King to stand up and fight for the rights of women in all sports.
She was a great athlete. She was the first female tennis player to fight for equal prize money. And she's the reason why women can go to college on for a scholarship. So she did a lot across all sports.
In women's football, the U.S. national team has led the way, with successive generations demanding terms and conditions that reflect their status.
In the United States, it's actually federal law to pay your employees equally based off of gender. So not only do we bring in more money for the federation than the men's team, but it's federal law. It's the Equal Pay Act. They won!
In 2016, 5 senior members of the U.S. side filed a complaint against their own federation, accusing the governing body of wage discrimination. It started a 6-year battle between the 2 parties.
I think it is much more about pay equity. I think obviously that's the hot button issue, but in order to have, I think, a fair and a balanced conversation around compensation, we need to look at everything. We need to look at the way the youth teams are funded. We need to look at the way our staff, our coaching staff, our medical staff is funded. We need to look at promotion and branding and marketing and sponsorship, all of that.
In 2019, 28 players in the U.S. women's squad launched a gender discrimination lawsuit against the U.S. Soccer Federation. They alleged that female players were consistently paid less than the men's side, despite superior performances on the pitch.
Now we need to get our women paid more is what we need to do next.
Equal pay.
Their stocks were at an all-time high as they celebrated their second consecutive World Cup victory with a ticker tape parade through the streets of New York. Momentum for equal pay was building as politicians and high-profile individuals threw their support behind the four-time World Cup winners.
There is no rationale why the women should not get paid what men get paid. FIFA and the U.S. Soccer Conference have done this team a disservice and an injustice.
This is personal to me because it's personal to all women. It's one example of how we still treat women differently than men, and it's wrong.
It heaped more pressure on U.S. soccer to find an agreement with the newly crowned world champions.
U.S. soccer has invested more in women's soccer than any country in the world. And we will continue to invest.
Their demand for equal pay wasn't solely down to just on-field success.
We've filled stadiums, we've broken viewing records, we've sold out our jerseys, all the popular metrics by which we are judged. And yet, despite all of this, we're still paid less than our male counterparts.
After a long-standing dispute, a landmark settlement was reached in February 2022. The U.S. women's team won a $24 million payout and a pledge from the U.S. Soccer Federation to equalize pay for the men's and women's national teams in all competitions, including the World Cup.
This is going to affect more than just soccer. It's going to affect other sports and other business industries.
And hopefully, this can be a dawn of a new day at U.S. Soccer.
It's really great,
The equal pay agreement kicked in for the 2022 World Cup, with the U.S. women's side receiving $6.5 million in split prize money after the men's team reached the round of 16 in Qatar. To put that into context, the U.S. earned $6 million in total for winning back-to-back women's World Cups. The historic deal guarantees the next generation of female players in the U.S. will be adequately paid for competing at the highest level.
I love how you all really do think about this in terms of the generational impact. Those who kind of had to go with the machete and go and try and knock things down to achieve fairness, and then the next generation that has come through really appreciating that and then carrying it through and continuing with that work.
Their tireless fight for equal pay has inspired other countries to follow suit where generational change has been made. The Netherlands and Spain joined the U.S. in completing landmark equal pay deals in 2022, while England and Brazil have been paying their male and female players the same since 2020. The 4 years between the 2019 and 2023 World Cups will be remembered as a game-changing period for equal pay in women's football. Coming up, how Australia is looking to develop more homegrown coaches.
So our aim by being part of this pilot program is to work with FIFA to ensure the quality of what we're doing is going forward. We have strong beliefs about where coaching needs to go in Australia, but partnering with FIFA means that we have that alignment with the world body.
Coaching is crucial to producing better footballers, and Australia is looking to evolve both coach and player development. To enhance the standard of coaching, Football Australia has aligned with FIFA to deliver a collaborative program with the goal of increasing Australia's pool of qualified coaches. Australia was one of 5 countries selected to run the FIFA Coach Educators Development Pathway Program. The 12-month program, which commenced in November 2021, featured 40 online modules, focused on the development of homegrown coaches through 150 hours of theory and practical learning. The program also included a 5-day in-person module, which saw 17 emerging Australian coaches gather in Sydney in May 2022.
What we want out of this week is for the coaches here to be inspired and to understand the responsibility they carry back where they live to deliver at the same standard, but with their own personality.
Excellent through, boys. Great pass.
It allowed attending FIFA and Football Australia technical experts to deliver sessions on the pitch and in the classroom, where valuable advice and feedback was provided. And with Australia and New Zealand co-hosting the 2023 Women's World Cup, grassroots football participation is set to spike in both countries. Having talented and cutting-edge coaches is critical to harnessing young talent.
With more players means you need more coaches, and part of the legacy of the Women's World Cup and part of the strategy around legacy will be that we want to increase the role of females in the game, and that means female coaches, and we want to elevate female coaches in the game to leaders in the game.
The program had an added focus on inclusivity for female coaches. And as a result, there was an even gender split among the attendees.
It's been awesome for that to be recognised and to be invited along to a course, as all my previous coaching courses have been done, and I've been the only female in the room. So it's actually quite nice, and it's a comment that we've been making amongst the girls. It's that we don't want to just be here as a token female, but none of us feel that way. We feel equal, and the FIFA guys have made us feel that way.
Coaching has evolved during my career from being a pastime to now becoming a professional environment for those in the women's game. I mean, there are too many male coaches in the women's game still, I feel. I think there's certainly more growth to do in that aspect in terms of women coming through the ranks. A lot of the times men have more experience, so they get chosen over women, and that's just the fact that we've just lagged behind for so many years in terms of getting opportunities, in terms of coaching licenses and coaching education. Those things have really come to the fore in terms of what is required by a coach to actually coach at a level in our country at least, and all over the world. So not any pundit can get a license. It's quite difficult. I currently have my A license in the AFC. We all know that UEFA is quite demanding in their licenses. It's not just a sit-down test on a computer anymore. It's live-in 2 weeks at a time. So certainly the avenues for coaches have increased, the number of positions, the number of teams. So that has really bolstered that coaching community as well. We're educated day in, day out, a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings, working on the field, then working on analysis. And then basically given structures that can help us get our, football problem under wraps, and then how we can communicate the best sort of solutions to our players. Certainly, more advanced into the professional licenses, the AFC Pro license, it then becomes a thesis about how you want to play. You have your philosophy set out, and we are starting that in our C license and working our way up. So every time you go to a license, you should be building on that philosophy so that by the time you get to that pro license stage, you should have 1,000-page thesis on how you'd like to play. If you think about all the great coaches of our time, they certainly have a distinct way of playing and what they want to do out on the football pitch, and the messages seem to be clear and concise and certainly well worn in most of their coaching settings. The raising coaching standards, coach education means that the best people are put in charge, let's just say coaching-wise, in terms of their education and what they know about the game and how they can coach. The other side of the coin is how they treat people and what they do in a professional environment. That's up to the coach. That's the essence of a coach. You can't really teach that. You can learn more by making mistakes, but we've seen a lot of critical areas go missing in women's football for the past few years. There's been, the way coaches have treated players, what they've done, a lot of lawsuits happening. So I think the education around working with females as well is going to make it better and a safer place for female players. And that's the one thing I found different from being a player to a coach, is that you can switch off as a player. You can think, no, I'm not ready to think about the game, I don't want to expend. So you turn yourself off. Whereas as a coach, you don't need to worry about your physical restrictions. So you just think about the game all day, all night, continuously trying to make your team, better.
Still to come, can Costa Rica achieve a first ever Women's World Cup win? After missing the 2019 Women's World Cup, Costa Rica are back on football's biggest stage. Las Ticas secured their passage through to the 2023 finals by finishing second in their CONCACAF W Championship group, after wins over Trinidad and Tobago and Panama. They finished the tournament in 4th place. Although they face an uphill task of qualifying for the knockout stage, the Central Americans are embracing the challenge of competing against the world's best.
We are among the best 32 teams in the world, and we knew we wouldn't have an easy group. Now that we know the kickoff times and stadiums, we will start preparing for the World Cup in a different way.
In what will be their second World Cup appearance, Costa Rica start their campaign against one of the pre-tournament favorites, Spain. They held Spain to a 1-1 draw in their first World Cup match in 2015, and they'll hope history repeats itself when they meet La Roja on July 21 in Wellington. Costa Rica's final group game against Zambia looms as their best chance of clinching a maiden Women's World Cup win.
I think Spain, Japan and Zambia play different football styles. And we have to study them and try to impose our football in order to compete.
For Costa Rica to advance to the round of 16 for the first time, they will rely on Raquel Rodriguez to conjure up moments of inspiration. Rodriguez scored the nation's first ever World Cup goal in 2015 and remains a key player 8 years on. The attacking midfielder was a member of Portland's championship-winning squad in 2022, scoring this incredible goal en route to the NWSL title. Rodriguez will be the centerpiece of Costa Rica's team that takes to the field at the 2023 finals. She'll be supported in midfield by Catherine Alvarado, who was also a member of the squad that competed at Canada 2015. While advancing out of the group is likely to prove difficult, getting a breakthrough World Cup win will be viewed as a successful tournament for Las Ticas.